Hey guys, it's Rachel from the Little Green Lamb. Today I'm doing the Gilmore Girls book tag. And I wasn't tagged by anybody, but I'm pre-filming this. So if I was, I will mention the down bar because this one's still going around quite heavily in the booktube community. This was created by Pucks and Paperbacks, and definitely go check out her video. I just finished watching it, and I really loved all these because I really love Gilmore Girls a lot. Now, when Gilmore Girls first came on the air, I was 5 years old in 2000 because I was born in 95. So obviously didn't watch the original run, and the channel it was on, I don't even think we had. So basically didn't get to watch it, and the first time I watched it, I was either in 10th or 11th grade of high school, and me and my sister watched it all in the 2 months of summer. It was especially good when my brother went away for a week with his friend because we literally got through a season so fast because we were watching TV all day, which probably wasn't the healthiest choice, but if it's Gilmore Girls and you guys are fans, you probably understand. And we watched it, I think the summer between grade 10 and 11 for me, and 11 and 12, and I haven't rewatched it since, but I think maybe I've watched a few episodes here and there, so I've watched it at least 2 times over, and I really hope to rewatch it before the new series comes out, but I don't think that's likely with how many shows I'm watching right now. But yes, I absolutely love the series. It's so good, and I really liked how me and my sister could watch it together, and she got really addicted to it. I think she's even seen it more times over than me because she's one of those people that can rewatch an episode 20 times after she just watched it. I'm not that way. So anyway, I'm looking at, first off I'm looking at my phone, and then I'm looking at my notebook because I wrote down my answers here and I have the questions on my phone. So number 1 is Lorelai, character of a witty or sarcastic sense of humor. So I picked Ove from A Man Called Ove by Frederick Backman, and because certain things he is more witty and sarcastic, like I don't really have anybody on my bookshelf that I would say is like a Lorelai Gilmore because she is very like witty and sarcastic. Like she is probably one of the most characters, like she's such a good character. And I think he, like some of his things, like if you've read this book, he has a cat and he doesn't really like the cat. He didn't want it. It was a stray cat and nobody else could take it in, and his neighbor kind of put it upon him that he would take this cat in. And his humor with the cat, and like he's kind of sarcastic in the sense of how he deals with people. And there is some very sad overtones with this book, so it's kind of a weird choice if you've read this to be thinking, but I think he's just one of those sarcastic, witty people. Maybe not as witty as sarcastic, but I decided to pick him because I haven't picked him for anything in a tag, and I think he fits pretty well. Like, it's not always how he acts. Like, he's not a Lorelai Gilmore, outgoing, you know, always on the ball, like, but he does have his moments. Number 2 is Rory, your favorite classic. So I have 3 classics that I've both read in my 3rd year university, which I just finished. And I haven't read very many classics in my time because the ones I read in school I didn't really like high school and stuff, like they weren't my faves. And then, you know, I just haven't read that many because I find it hard to read them in the school year just with all my school readings. But the ones I've read that I really enjoy, The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. I originally read this actually in high school, but it was in French class, and I read it in Fairy Tales this year. Really enjoyed it. There's so many meanings. I appreciate it more in English because it was harder to understand in French because it was kind of like my first French novel reading. And yes, the next classic is Hetty Dorval by Ethel Wilson, a Canadian classic that I've talked about quite a few times. I read this for my contemporary Canadian fiction class. Loved it. Speaking of that class, we read another classic, which is Marie Échappe de l'Inutile French, Canada. Really enjoyed this too. It also has my favorite male protagonist name, Francois Paradis. I love that. It's so good. And all 3 of these books I don't know why I'm holding this one up again. All 3 of these books I really enjoyed, so I couldn't pick one of my favorites out of these 3. Luke, a book you secretly love but are afraid to admit. I don't really have any that I'm afraid to admit. Like, some I don't really like the covers, but I can't think of any that I would be afraid to admit. Like, if I really love a book, I'm going to admit I love a book. I've loved unpopular books before. What's going to stop me in the future, you know? Don't really have any. Like, maybe if I loved a really embarrassing series, but I don't think I love a really embarrassing series. Like, I don't feel any stigma towards anything I love. Like, I feel like it's pretty accepted. Or if it's not accepted, or nobody knows about it, yeah, basically it. If I love something, I'm not going to be afraid to admit I love it. Lane, a musical character. So I picked, let me just make sure I got his name right. Right, okay, I thought so. Ridge from Maybe Someday by Colleen Hoover. There's a lot of musical people in this book, so I decided to pick him. And then number 5 is Dean, your first book love, character or book you first love. Michael Moskowitz from the Princess Diaries series by Meg Cabot. He was probably one of my first book loves, and I still love his character. So the next one is Suki, a book you've devoured, and that'd be the Pretty Little Liars series by Sarah Shepard. I literally devour these books. I just picked up the 11th book. These books, I would get them, so like if you guys have watched my PLL story time kind of video or book memories, basically these would be sitting on my placemat usually when I came home because they came out on school days. Like my parents would pick it up for me, and I would devour them. Like let's say I got home around 3:30ish. I would have this finished by like 7 o'clock at night, and like that's even through dinner. Like I'd read through dinner, and these books are so good. Like I literally devour them, and my parents are like, oh, like later that night they're always like, oh, why didn't you go read that? I'm like, finished, and they're like, what? The next number, which I think is 8. Jess, a book you love that gets the most hate. Dying to Know You by Aidan Chambers. There's so much hate on this book, and I don't understand why. Miss Patty, a book that was ruined by the hype. I'd say Looking for Alaska by John Green. Not that I didn't enjoy. This is actually one of the, I read this very soon after I started my channel. I remember it was the October after I started my channel. And it was actually the first review I started using a camera rather than my webcam, so celebration. But this book, I feel like it gets really a lot of hype, and I just don't understand it. Maybe because it got too much hype, but I'm not hating on it, because I did enjoy this book. I just feel like it wasn't amazing for me because of that hype. I feel like my expectations were too high, and they should have lowered, not a bit, but like, I just didn't connect with it as much as I would have liked to, and it was probably me. It's probably not the book, because I feel like the book is amazing, because so many people say it's amazing. It just, I didn't connect with it as much as I wished I would have. So Emily Gilmore, an expensive book. I picked In Search of Lost Time, Swan's Way, a graphic novel by Marcel Proust. And this is obviously adapted by Stephanie Hewitt and translated by Arthur Goldhammer. And this book I really want to read so bad. It's a graphic novel. It was one of the most expensive ones because most of my expensive books are around $40. And this was an expensive graphic novel, and I really need to read Swan's Way first, and then I'm going to devour this. Just, I have a very big fascination with Proust. If you've been watching my channel, you know that. I haven't read any of his books yet. My goal is to read all of them by the time I'm 30. Well, not all of them, but like this 7-book series. And there's just a very big fascination. I can't even describe it. Just, I'm very intrigued. And then Paris, an uptight character. So I chose Clarice from the Princess Diaries series by Meg Cabot. She is like the definition of uptight. She's a dowager countess. She's very strict on her rules. She reminds me more rather than Paris as Emily Gilmore type of character, except for Clarice is very cold. Like in the movie she's described as like Julie Andrews really like amps her up and makes her more of a loving, well, she didn't really make her like the writers did, but like she's more of a loving character in the movies, but in the book she's not very loving at all. She's very uptight and strict, kind of like Paris. Like she wants Rory to be perfect and achieve everything in a certain way, and it's all different in the book. And yes, that's the Gilmore Girls book tag. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.